They knew I was right, but they're like this. Hey, asshole, get in the back row. You're the dumbass. And we all, I'm like, but so David goes, oh, you won't wear these, and I put them on, And so I walk up with the girls, and I got the stupid hat on, the stupid glasses. Right now, Haiden Deegan is the boldest guy we have in the sport. And I go, so now I'm doing nude shit. He goes, well, you're going to wear a boot and this and that. So then went on the side of Micky Thompson, said, you have everything. Multiple people heard Mike Goodwin say, Thompson, you're a dead man. Because they took his Mercedes. He had this bitch on 500 SEC. And when it goes away and they don't give a shit about you anymore. They don't love you. They don't give a shit about you. They want to be around you because they want to introduce you as, oh, this is my friend Rick. He's factory Honda champion, blah, 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 and all the shit. When you don't have that anymore, it's hard. It's hard. Okay, you've been trained as a pit bull fighting dog. Okay, that was your last fight. Go be a lap dog. I like biting people.
What's up, guys? So, hey, we got the Rick Johnson, the original bad boy interview. Man, he's so good. All I had to do was shut up and let him talk. And at the end of this month, we are giving away the Rick Johnson jersey. It's already signed, but I think when he comes out here for the Mint 400, I'm going to try and get him to re-sign it just so it's fresh. But I'll be picking a random member. I think there's about 150 of you guys now. So anyone in that, you're already entered to win this. So we'll be giving that away at the end of this month to one of the members. Thank you to Nano-Xtreme. Thank you to everybody who has sent me your address in the proper form. Name, address, email, like P. Davey. And I'll get you that sample out. We're going through thousands of them, so be patient, but you should get it pretty quickly. When you're done with this, head over to the Coach Rob YouTube channel. He's got interviews and all sorts of stuff over there. He's got a vet podcast, a amateur racing podcast, and everything you would ever want to do with fitness. Ride strapped. We got the Cooksey Cookout coming up in Daytona the day after the Supercross. Go to cookseymob.com and then you can register there. We're going to take about 20 people and just have a good old barbecue on Sunday. Check out ridestrap.com. If you're shipping anything, use Precision Transport. That's pretransport.com. Just a great family-owned shipping company with reasonable pricing, good tracking. So hit up pretransport.com. And our friends over at Motobilia with the coolest stuff available. Not just motocross and supercross, but everything. So that's it, guys. That's the only sponsors you're going to hear right now. We will get into this interview with the original bad boy, Rick Johnson.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
All right, guys. So I got the original bad boy, Rick Johnson. What's happening?
Well, down here in sunny Southern California, it was raining last week, but everything's looking great now. So all good in the hood. Just recuperating. Alexander, which a lot of the riders know who he is. So very successful. Did some hiking, what they call rucking. Put a 45-pound backpack on and use my sticks and walk around my yard. So trying to stay in shape.
So you're doing the rucking, huh?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I can't run. With when you have knee replacements, your legs just don't work. And that's the first thing that Dr. Alexander says. This is a man-made knee, not a God-made knee. So there was so much when God built our bodies. There was so many things happening when your femur touches your tibia, the nerves that tells the muscles when to go, and all the different things. It's not there anymore. So my leg has to relearn. My left leg's good. Bicycling and stuff like that, but I can hike and I can kind of jog, as you might call it, but there is no running involved. So if someone chases me, I just turn and cower or fight. There's no running for this guy anymore, but I'm able to ride bicycles, ride motorcycles, and walk and do everything on a day-to-day. So I'm truly blessed.
Yeah, I've had knee replacement too on my left knee. It was just really bad. I had it done. And I kind of disobeyed the doctor's orders, and I've actually been able to run. I mean, I don't run very fast, but I can actually still run again. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can hobble around, but still my right leg, I did it in November, so it's been a couple months now. So the pain's not there, nerve pain's gone, all the different stuff. It's just my leg's not quite firing the way I want it to. I don't have drop foot or anything like that. It's just like when I'm walking today, I'm trying to push with my calf, and it's just not reading the way I want it to read yet. So it just takes a little bit for your body to adapt.
Yeah, and it's weird. How about those loud clicking noises with the plastic joints? That freaked me out.
Well, I've had, between my wrist, it's completely fused, and I had my left knee done, and so the sound didn't bother. It didn't bother me as bad at first. When I first heard it, I thought, "Uh-oh, did I break something?" And it's flopping around in there. But that's that Teflon ball on the back of your kneecap, on your patella, that's rubbing on that metal surface on your femur or on your tibia. So no, it's a little freaky, but hey, it modern medicine, it keeps us moving. You know, I'm 60 years old. I'm able to still do a bunch of cool stuff, race trucks and teach motorcycle riding and do all that kind of stuff. So once again, I just feel like I'm truly blessed.
It gave me my life back, and I was able to walk. I quit trying to find the closest parking spot. But let's get into your racing. So you're still doing some truck racing, and you're teaching classes. How involved are you? You got a team? You're coming out for the Mint 400. What's it look like?
Yeah.
And
So for me, I have like 8 jobs. So I've had for the past 20 years, I've been training military special forces, which I don't do a lot of social on that because when you sign a contract with the government, they say you can say that you train special forces. That's it. And so it really, you can't get into pictures of them. You can't say where you are, who you're working with, and things like that. And I'm not trying to act like, oh, I'm some super secret squirrel guy, but I've worked with, I think, some unbelievable soldiers, all around the world, not just American ones. But so doing that, and then I was also the riding coach. I worked with Sebastian Tortelli when he was in Suzuki. I worked with Blake Baggett when he was in Suzuki. I had an amateur racing team with Sebastian Tortelli, a Champ Factory. And so between doing that and now I'm working into adventure bikes and dual sports because guys like you and me, I can't do the track anymore. For one, I don't like the hustle and bustle of it. The slow guys are pissing me off and the fast guys are pissing me off. You know, I want my own deal and I want to ride. I want to enjoy myself and I don't want someone pushing me and I don't want someone getting in my way. So I think motocross is my first love. I love it. I wish I could go do the tracks, but just with my body the way it is, I've been doing dual sports and adventure bikes. Because what's cool about it, as you know, Chris, and our buddy Bob Purdy and everybody else, that you got to pack your shit up to go to the track. You got to get your gas, make sure your bike's right, make sure the chain's tight, the tire pressures are right. You know, stuff. You go there, you get on the track, you go ride, and then you come back. And don't get me wrong, it's awesome. Like there's nothing better than butter and a big tabletop or a double or anything like that. But what I'm enjoying is just getting on my bike some afternoons, put on a helmet with my radio system in there, and then just go for a ride. And I might do 20 miles of road and 10 miles of dirt or whatever. Just getting out there and riding. And I've had a statement that I didn't trademark or anything like that, but I live by it. Is that motorcycles make a boy feel like a man and a man feel like a boy. And so a guy named Richard Hart is doing a picture of me, a pencil drawing of me on XR75 and me at Daytona in '86 with headshots. And with that statement is that when I was a kid, I pictured myself being this national champion. And then when I was a national champion, I visioned myself as a little kid riding around my yard, just having a blast, riding a motorcycle and having a good time. And so I see a lot of people in the business world, military world, all over the place. They need to get on a bike and ride. It doesn't matter what you ride. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a Gullwing or a BMW or an Aprilia or a Tenere 700 or a dual sport or a motorbike or it doesn't matter. Get on a motorcycle and ride, and it's good for men. It's great for women as well, but it's really, I think, important for men to get out and have some of that throttle therapy that they enjoyed when they were a little kid.
yeah, it's funny. We talked to our friend Bob Purdy, and it's funny. I look at it when I get on the bike. There's nothing in life that I can do where nothing else matters. When I'm riding a dirt bike or a bike in general, I'm focused on everything I'm doing. Life doesn't matter. It's the only true relief that I have.
Well, and I related a lot to jujitsu. Like I did that for a while because I love the challenge of it because it's very much like motocross and supercross is that in jujitsu, you have to have an offense, but if you get too aggressive, you expose yourself to getting choked or getting punched or getting your arm locked or leg locked or whatever the case may be. So you have to have a sense of defense, but if you want to excel, you better be bold. You better push, but don't go too hard. Same thing on a motorcycle. I get out there and ride and all of a sudden, oh shit. Woo! Okay, just cheated death there. Didn't want to go down, and then bring it down, and then so there's not many things in life that you can go out and excite yourself and get good adrenaline. It's not like a bomb going off. Like the military guys I work with, they love it because great adrenaline that we introduced to ourselves when we were a little kid, jumping off a roof, playing catch, riding a bicycle down the hill, sitting on your skateboard, seeing how fast you can go. That kind of stuff is good adrenaline. We're pushing it. We're pushing it. We're pushing it. And those guys over there, they get what I call bad adrenaline, because all of a sudden it's like boom, they got to fight for their life, and it becomes, you know, like somebody that's like a dog that's been hit. You know, you don't want to be that. So Sonny Garcia, great friend of mine, said to me one time, because I'm explaining to him how scared I am of surf. He's like, "Brother, it's just water." I'm like, "Yeah, water, but you know." He's like, "You jump these big jumps and stuff." I said, "Yeah, I can go to that jump. I can look at it. I can wait till whatever the century it is or decade that I want to jump it. When I decide to go, it's there and I go. Waves, you go now." And also that jump doesn't try to hold me down if I fall off. But he said, "You know what, Rick, what I love about motorcycles," and he said it best. I have to do it with my left throttle. He goes, "I can go from 1 foot to 40 foot anytime I want." And how many other sports are there out there that you can do that? Because surf, you know, I've been out there and I've not caught in a wave. I've caught in one wave, I've caught in a half a wave or whatever. When I'm on a motorbike, man, I can jump, 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 jump. I can go until I'm completely exhausted, or go out in the trails and ride and do all the different stuff. So you get seat time. And so as you can tell, I'm a little bit of an advocate for motorcycles.
Yeah, go figure. Hey, so you had that nasty wrist injury, and like you said, it's kind of plastic. You were the original, you know, navicular or scaphoid guy that cost your career. How is that thing? And did you try any of that Nano-Xtreme that they sent you?
Yes, I did. I'm using it on my knees, my hands. So what I have now is I basically have an arm with fingers. I can rotate good this way. I have zero rotation back, zero rotation forward. So I have a plate that goes across here. So everyone wants to say it was my navicular. My navicular got thrown in the trash 30 years ago. I mean, it was right after. So it wasn't the navicular. I broke and dislocated it so bad that none of the spacing was good, and it was rubbing into itself. And so I had a partial fusion to where I could move it about like I could do like that down and that up. And I used that for truck racing, and I could still race in Baja on bikes and things like that. But I could never really get forward on the bike and do what I wanted to do. So they had to go in and do partial fusions, but it got to a point to where in the Baja 1000, I was holding the steering wheel with my arm because I couldn't hold the wheel anymore. And I realized when it was that bad that I said, I got to fuse it. So I'm not really getting anything out of it. So Dr. Barrero down in Florida told me, he says, you'll probably get 20 years maybe out of this. But what happens is you mess up one joint, now you stress it more, and then it stresses more, then it stresses more, then it stresses more. So it failed here at the navicular, then it failed over here, then over here, then over here. So that had cut my arm basically off, and then put a plate to connect the two and fuse it all up. So as far as day to day, it doesn't hurt. I got good grip strength. I can drive. I ride a motorcycle kind of weird. I ride it like that. I twist the throttle like, you know, I'll go brrr when I want more throttle. And I got on a bike back there. I got this thumb throttle, but I want it to move up and down with the bar. So when I stand up, because otherwise I have to stay in one spot. So trying doing everything I can to stay on a bike. But yeah, the wrist feels good. It's just gone.
Yeah, and did the Nano help your knees?
Yes. So yeah, we were talking about the Nano-Xtreme. So yeah, I'm using it on my knees. I did use it on my hand. At first, I thought it was just it's the menthol, and I'm smelling that, and it's doing something to my psyche, because I'm pretty particular when it comes to this stuff. I do blind tests. I've done it when it comes to vitamins and stuff like that. I'll get on them, and then I jump off of them, and I get on them and jump off of them to see what I'm feeling. And at this point, I'm enjoying the Nano-Xtreme quite a bit. Like I'm noticing that it takes my pain spikes on my knees and it drops them down here. You're not going to get rid of structural damage with a cream. I mean, you're crazy if you think that, but it does make it to where I can climb hills, and I'm not getting that spike and that twinge of pain. And so it softens that edge. And so I want to thank Ziggy for getting me to try that, because I mean, that's the way racers are. We got to try it. We got to see if it works. If it's a pipe, if it's a tire, if it's gas, whatever, we got to make sure it works.
Yeah, it was funny when they sent it to me and they wanted to sponsor the show. I said, well, I need to make sure it works. It was about a week going back and forth. It was crazy. I used it for about a week. I'm like, guys, it's not that good. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. I guess there's some different chemicals. The menthol isn't the main active ingredient.
No, but I just smell it a lot.
Yeah, but that got in there, and then after about a week, all of a sudden, bam, it started working. I'm like, wait, what? So yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it. Hey, how close do you follow SMX racing or supercross and motocross these days?
I watch all of it. You can't, on your stream, obviously we saw Grant on there. Boy, he he stirred up some shit, didn't he? But we're all fans and we all have our opinions, and how we think the sport should be better and this and that. But we're looking through our eyes, you know what I mean? And but when you talk to if it's Jimmy Perry with the AMA or or the Doc Alexander, that's working in the Alpine Star Medical Unit, or you talk to Dave Prater, who has to oversee the whole show or factories. So everyone's got their opinions, but me, I look at it and I'm a race fan. I'm a racer. I've ran racing series. So I look at it from not just I'm a retired moto guy and this is what I think it should be. So to answer your question, yes, I follow it every week. I watch the race day live. I watch what people are doing and go from there.
So you had an interesting idea, and they had that red flag with a minute
Yeah.
left. And I kind of floated the idea with some of my people, and they were not happy about it. But I want you to explain what your idea is with the competition yellow.
Okay, so for one, hate it for Max Anstey. I'm gonna take Ricky Carmichael. Hate it for him. That's Ricky's trademark.
Okay.
So I'm gonna use his. He used my condition over position, and he claimed it as his own. So I'm gonna use it. I hate it for him because Max did everything right. Okay, he got a lead. He did all that different stuff. And as a racer, that's what you're meant to do. You work on your start. You do your stuff, and then those last couple laps is when you're supposed to enjoy the fruits of your labor. But how exciting was it to line them up and then here they come, and so Max lost the race. He should have got protective, should have opened up the outside, stuffed him, and do whatever you got to do, but then you open it up for third and all the different stuff. So listen what we're talking about. Multiple options at the last lap of the finish line. So when I went to truck racing, it was very traditional. We went out and did our deal. Sometimes we didn't really have many yellow flags to bunch us back up because it was spread out. We had we just slow down around the truck that was rolled over and stuff like that. But Jim Baldwin started the Core Series, actually bought the Core Series from Marty Reed, and he says, I don't care. I want to see racing. He owned the series. He goes, we're doing a flag in the middle of the race to bunch you guys back up. And at first I'm like, damn it, man, you work so hard to get away from people and all the different stuff. So here's what I would like to see. And now the last 3 laps, I don't agree with that. I think that's too late. But the starts are so important now. And we see people that if it's Chase or Eli or Jet or somebody fall down and they make it back to close, but they're still 10 to 15 seconds off, and there's nothing you could do. So what I would like to see is that if it's let's just go back to laps. If it's a 20 lap race, at lap 10, boom, they throw a yellow flag, they roll up. As they roll up, they go in that staggered spot. And I disagree with AMA. That white line needs to be around the corner so that there's no chopping or there's no one coming in. You come in, and when you cross that line, you have to be behind the person, not beside them, behind them, or off to the side, but not a wheel on them. Because the idea is that they give you the space, they don't give you the spot. Okay, because that was the thing that we had in trucks, is like guys would just come blazing through like from 4th place and crash a bunch of people. It's like, no, you can't do that. The idea is to bring it closer together. So I think they should do the race. That the person that leads that halfway gets 1 point for leading that. So you're gonna try and you're gonna work hard. But if you get stuck in the gate, or if you get in a first turn fall or whatever, now you're only 5 seconds behind the leader. And now we see a race to the finish. So if it's done, boom, boom, and we're not re-racking them. Everyone's in the position that they've earned, but it's brought it closer. Because I watch it. I mean, if I'm at Anaheim or San Diego or wherever I go, man, when I see somebody out in front, I see people like everyone's like, yeah. They're
Yeah.
watching the race and they're waiting then they're going like this because they're waiting for the pyrotechnics to blow up after the race and all the shit. But how like I said, once again, hate it for Max, but how exciting was that? I mean, he's like, oh shit, he's going to the other side. Wow, wow. Last lap of the race. last lap of the race, we're screaming. Isn't that what we want every weekend?
I
I would
loved
think
it.
so. I
I
would think
loved it,
so.
Ricky.
You know what I mean? So as I said, I disagree with doing it with 3 laps to go, because then that doesn't give him a chance to work his way back up. A guy can come in and stuff you, and then you don't get a chance to retaliate. But if they give you 8 more minutes or 9 more minutes, that's a whole nother ballgame. Fitness starts to play a factor, and there's a lot of different things. But I really want to just give an attaboy to Max Anstey. What a champion. He just said, hey, I got beat. It sucks, and yeah, I'm pissed off about it. But the fact is, I didn't do what I needed to do. And then everybody, like I said, it's controversy. Everyone's got an opinion.
But Ricky, if they did this in your day, we never would have got to see the bad boy. Every time you had a lead and started doing those no-handers, grabbing your hips, like,
No, I would rather race. The only reason I did that, because I felt guilty if I had a big lead. I'm like, if I was a fan, no, I'm dead serious. I thought if I was a fan and the guy is out in front so far that is that easy, when it wasn't easy for me. I mean, Wardy or David or somebody had to fall down, or I had to have a huge lead, because I had a lot of great battles to the finish with those guys. But I thought, if I was a fan, I would expect more. So I would go off and I point at this crowd, and then, yeah, you pointed at me, and there's like, 20,000 people on that side of the stadium. And then, you do this stuff, and that's just part of the showmanship. But honestly, I would rather, because they don't talk about my great one-leggers or pistol guns, or they talk about my battle with David Bailey. They talk about my battle coming back at the LA Coliseum. They talk that the ones that you get out in front and whip everyone's ass, you forget about them. You're just like, oh yeah, it was cool, and it was a great payday, and I won, and it was very satisfying at the time. But I loved racing. So I would welcome it, because I love it in the trucks too.
yeah. And that great race was manufactured by a lapper, which was the late Scott Burnworth, who you had taken out earlier in the race, and he kind of blocked you.
Well, yeah, which God rest his soul. I mean, Scott. What's funny is that Scott and I have known each other since we were 8 years old. He was 9 or 10, and I was 8, and we used to go fishing together. We go riding together. We went to high school together. We had the same art teacher, because he was a grade above me. But people define our relationship for me hitting him in Anaheim. And I wasn't trying to take him out. It's just when he was coming this way, I was going that way. I thought, I don't want to hook handlebars, because we were hauling ass. So I leaned in, and then right when we landed, when he came to hit me, I shouldered him. Well, whenever you're the hammer, the nail gets it. And he weighed probably 30 pounds lighter than me, and I was coming at him, and I initiated the hit just to keep separation. I was hoping just to bounce him off, but shit, I knocked him off the bike and then landed on him. And I had hit him the week before at a Golden State race. And so when I got behind him, I thought, man, I've just taken him out twice in 2 weeks. If someone did that to me, I would throw it all away and ghost ride the bike. So I was tentative to pass him. I should have either just blown him off the bike again, and just keep going, or just be more aggressive. But then, yeah. But David was the man that night. He deserved it. I had issue that I ran out of gas. I was sick the week before, and I was huffing and puffing and tired. And the last 2 laps, the last lap I had to give up. I just had to submit, and that was the pill that motivated me to be faster for the rest of the year.
So you were one of the first guys to really get up on the podium and show your personality. I think of the Rodeo Cup when you jumped out there and called everybody out. What do you think of Deegan and these modern day athletes being able to say a lot more?
I think that there's so the road deal thing was, I had nothing to lose. It was a European race. Jimmy Hawley won the world championship that year, and they said, we're going to do a 2-row start. I was in the first heat. I'm like, this will be bitching. I'm on a Innovation Sports. Jim Castillo built me this bitchin' bike, and Jake from Showa got me forks out of it. So it's actually a pretty nice bike, but I've been testing Hondas for the past 3 weeks. And so, but Yamaha wouldn't let me ride a Honda there, because they would have canceled my payment, or my last contract payment. So Jim goes, I'll make you something. That's why I wore the Life's a Beach stuff, no Yamaha on it, Fox clothes, and blah, blah, blah. And then I go out there like an idiot, and I go win. And I'm like, this is going to be cool. Like, all of us are going to start in the back. It's going to be kind of cool to see how it works. And then the next heat, People start dropping back, and then Ronnie Lachine stops, and then Jeff Ward was smart. He stopped up in the peristyle where no one could see him, and he just waited. Then John Vandenberg's going like, "Oh, my shoulder's dislocated. I don't know," and then jumps in line. So when I saw that, I thought, first thought was, "You're such an idiot to think anybody was going to do this," So I felt like a fool, and then because we were up, our pits were up at the top of the peristyle. So I just walked down. I just walked down onto the field, and I knew Dave Stanfield and stuff like that. And I'm gonna say, fuck this, give me the microphone, And I'm like, you people, if you want to see a red, I don't know why my voice was so high. My balls must have disappeared. But honestly, it is unbelievably embarrassing. Like when I watch it, it's like, I'm like, oh God, what was I thinking? And I don't know that rag I had in my hand. I'm like, what the hell was that? That I'm swinging this thing around. I don't know where that came from. It was like a mechanic's rag or something. I don't know where it came from. And but it, I think the riders need to step out and understand that they're a different person as a racer than they are a human being. Okay, so who they are during the week, like I saw Cameron McAdoo. We were down for my wife's birthday. We're at an Italian restaurant. Cameron comes over. Hey, Rick, how's it going? I mean, just the sweetest human being in the world. But dude, there is not more of a warrior spirit in any human in the world than Cameron McAdoo. So you see what I mean? So you see this guy during the week, and he's thin, he's cut, he's lean, he's just like this little racehorse, but sweet as can be. But the what he puts into his racing and everything, he's a badass. He's just like a special forces guy that I've trained, and but they get on the microphone. Now their soft guy comes back. Well, I don't want to say anything. This and that. Well, Brian Deegan made a living out of playing the asshole, the metal militia guy. And when I say asshole, I mean the brash, harsh, screw the manufacturers, this, that. We're about what's real in racing and stuff like. And I hated him. When I first saw all that metal militia shit, I went nuts. I'm like, because you're insulting what I do and how hard I work and all the different stuff. And so, but then I learned he's a businessman. So Brian's the same way. I coached him in trucks. We're friends off of that. We laugh, we joke about all the different stuff. And I admire how well he's raised his kids. Haley's kicking ass in NASCAR. Hayden's crushing it in moto. And so he's not afraid to say his stuff. And if I was the other riders, I'm like, whatever. And Juju's kind of that way. It's like they're buddies. You know what I mean? And so I don't think he gives two shits what Haiden says. Oh, about he sparked the bear and he's going to get his ass kicked. Well, guess what? I'm not hiding. It's like when you see two guys in the weigh-ins in UFC flaring up. It's like, dude, we get 25 minutes to beat the shit out of each other tomorrow night. But guess what? The fans are going, ooh, fight. It's going to be awesome. So we need that. We need them to be actors and to go piss on him. I'm coming after him next week. I'm here to whip everybody's ass. That's what everybody thinks to themselves. Because if you don't, why are you there? You don't think Sexton thinks that he's there to beat everybody? That Eli and Jet and you know what I mean? The guys that know. And now you look at the look in Cooper Webb's eyes. If he verbalized what he's looking is, and you could beat this out, fuck all of you, I'm coming to crush you. That's what I'm doing. I'm here. I know what it takes to win. You can run, but you can't hide. And that's so I think they should voice their opinions more. Sorry.
No, and Rick, that's what I've been asked. All I want is, how you go back to the truck, and I'm sure you and Brian and Lunas had some pretty animated conversations. I just want whoever you are off the track, don't stop doing it up there and become fake for sponsors or whatever. Just be who you are. Juju, quiet, stay quiet. I think he's pretty quiet off the track. That's who he is. Deegan, he's kind of loud. Let him be loud. And that's all I want from the guys is authenticity.
But yeah, true. I want that. But don't be afraid to step out. Now, there's being honest, there's being brutally honest. Like, hey, Chris, you've gained a little weight. Everything all right? Hey, Chris, you're a fat fuck. Put down the sandwich. You know what I mean? The message is the same, but it's delivered different. And so when these guys get up there, I want to see emotion. I like it. When I saw Dale Earnhardt cry, at the Indy the Brickyard 500 because he had to get out of the car, that showed that because he was such a badass and just such, I mean, the intimidator. I mean, he was at all of that. But then you see this guy that gets out and he's crying because he can't race the first Brickyard 500 because he was injured. You know what I mean? And so, you know what? His fan base went because every woman that hated him loved him. So don't, so if I could say anything to the riders, don't be afraid to show a little emotion. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, don't be an asshole. Don't be, don't be careful what you say because now in today's environment, it stays out there and it haunts you forever. But we've also found that people are very forgiving.
Yeah, and speaking of haunting you forever, the Rodeo Cup. I love that. I'm sorry, Rick. When I saw that, I was so stoked. I was a fan. I was a super fan. I'm like, that dude stands up for what he believes in, and I loved it. My question is now, how did Wardy and Vanderberg, with his great performance, were they pissed? Was it awkward backward?
They knew I was right, but they're like this. Hey, asshole, get in the back row. You're the dumbass, and we all, I'm like, because it was a show, because that was a thing that where I got a lot of my showmanship was the Paris Supercross. So they and because I was more flamboyant and acted more like the fool and did crazy stuff. Here's how it started. Where they had all these, I forget what the girls were like. I don't know if it was Camel cigarettes or whatever. They had like showgirls to walk us up onto the thing, and so they had these big Yamaha stickers, and so I taped it around my hat so it looked like I had a top hat, like a big tall top hat. And then David Bailey, remember those crazy louvered glasses that they had back in the 80s? They were louvers. They weren't sunglasses, but they just had like louvers. So it looked like that. Oops,
Oh
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember those.
So
They were
David,
ridiculous.
yeah, they're completely ridiculous. But so David goes, "Oh, you won't wear these," and I put them on. So I go up on the stage, and everyone's going nuts. And so I walk up with the girls and I got the stupid hat on, the stupid glasses. And so then the next Paris Supercross, which was that same year, because get this, the first year of the Paris Supercross, we raced Daytona, flew to Paris, raced the Bercy Supercross, and then came home. Imagine the factories letting you do that nowadays. So anyhow, so then they said, okay, we got this great idea. We're going to dress you up in a jumpsuit and with an old man mask when those old man masks first came out. And so they're doing the opening show, and so then I walk by and I'm like sweeping the announcers, and they're like, hey, what are you doing? Get out of here. We're doing a show. And I'm like, so I kind of say because I can't speak French. I'm like, I can ride, I can do that. And they're like, oh, bullshit, you can't do that. So I go below the thing, get in the tunnel, put my helmet on, and now I'm looking through these little tiny holes in the old man mask. And I go up in the dark and I do like this, one-legged, whatever, calf kind of can, not really. But then I come to the thing, and then so I take the helmet off and I keep the mask on. They're like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, Monome, Ricky Johnson. I pull the thing off. So from that point on, they had me doing crazy stuff. They lowered me from the ceiling one time. They had me come out here. They had me doing all this crazy stuff, and other riders kind of got pissed. Like, here he goes again. But they weren't doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like, just like Deegan, he's getting a lot of attention because he's being bold. I have a tattoo on my arm that says, in Latin, it says, fortune favors the bold, not the weak, not the meek, not the passive, the bold. Right now, Haiden Deegan is the boldest guy we have in the sport.
Yeah, and you were in your era. In fact, I remember you took a lot of heat for the thinker. Remember that ad you did where you were naked in a time when there was a lot of homophobia in the world? Like, you took a lot of heat for that. What led you to that?
It wasn't my idea. It was Pete Fox's idea. So I won the 500 outdoor championship in Washougal. The next day he says, "Hey, fly to San Francisco. We're going to shoot an ad." I'm like, "What are we doing?" He goes, "Just come down there." Because Pete, I signed with Fox when Pete was 15. He came to the 84 Donations. I was racing for Sonosalo, and he came. I'm dead serious. He comes with a book like this, and he opens it up, and with his colored pencils, he had drawn the red, white, and the white with red and black Yamaha. He had drew that by hand, and he goes, "I want you to be my guy. I think you're stylish. I'd like da." I'm like, okay, because Sinosilo kind of did a spike and then went down. I said, okay, so we ended up doing a deal together. So everything from the alley shot to Alcatraz shots. Pete would just go, "Hey, we're going to do this." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." I show up in San Francisco and I go, "What are we doing?" And I walk out and there's a studio, a rock, and it's lit. And I see the Roldan Thinker. And I go, "So now I'm doing nude shit?" He goes, "Well, you're going to wear a boot and this and that." So then I had the hard line, from cycling back in the day. I had the hard line on my legs and my arms and stuff. So we had to shave all my legs and my ass and then do the makeup to blend it in so you didn't see the tan line. And then I sat there on the rock and so as I think about it, the boot, that was actually an Alpine Star boot, by the way. So I got Alpine Star to go to Fox because I didn't like their boot. And so we did it, and people loved it or hated it. So I was a pretty strong Christian at the time, and people were like, you're promoting Satanism and pornography and this and that. I'm like, you don't see my junk, you see the cheek of my ass, and really, are you sure that's me? I mean, it's not like my face, like you could, ta-da, there it is. Or I had, ladies that loved it. It was like so it was polarizing, and once again, that's what you need. Now everybody's done naked shots. I mean, Sports Illustrated did a whole thing with Laird Hamilton, Gabby Reese, Dungy's done it. The nicest guy in the world's done a naked shot.
Oh,
So
Pastrana and his wife. Yeah, of course.
so I guess I was just ahead of the trend.
So now you raced in a really weird time in the sport where the factories really just wanted a place to show off their bikes. And they were just like, how do we get a professional series? You had Mike Goodwin promoting Supercross, and then you had Micky Thompson, and then you had these battles where it was like they almost killed the series going against each other. How was it that time?
Well, if you go back, and I don't remember all the pace, SRO pace, and blah, 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 all the different stuff, but you have Bill West who ran Florida. So like the Miami Supercross, the Tampa Supercross. Then you had the France family that had Daytona. Then you had C.E. Altman who had Texas and sort of the central part. And then you had, I think it was Pace with Charlie, not Charlie, but pre-Charlie Mancuso. Had like Chicago and New York and this different stuff. And then you have Mike Goodwin who had the West Coast. So there was no fighting amongst them really at the time. There's like you stay in your lane. You're doing Florida. You're doing Texas. You're doing this. You're doing that. But then Pace, just like NASCAR did, started picking up. Like they first, I think they bought Bill West, and then they merged. Then they got C.E. Altman, and so then they had everything west east of the Colorado. But then the story would happen with Mike Goodwin and Micky Thompson. So they came. Goodwin was doing motocross. Thompson was doing stadium trucks. They're completely separate. I know this is the way Micky Thompson told me the story. So I'm not saying I know everything. I do know that Mike Goodwin was a crazy son of a bitch and sometimes very, very difficult to work with, but he did make it happen. And so it is what it is. So then I met Micky because there was a fight. So Trudy Thompson, Micky's wife, got sick. Micky adored her. Just, I mean, if it's talk about a man loving his wife, that was the epitome. Anyhow, Goodwin says, "Hey, why don't we put these two together?" Showed him these books. That this is the money that I make. It's the money you make. We can do them week after week, and we can kind of do this together, and it'd be a great thing. One cost on dirt, one cost on hauling it in, taking it out, plywood, all that stuff. Great idea. Well, what Micky told me is that Mike stole a bunch of money from him and that he was running the business badly. So then once Micky found out, then he went after him and then they separated and then they went into court. Now, I do remember this being said, once again, wasn't there, that when they came out of court, because the judge, went on the side of Micky Thompson, said, "You have everything." Okay, so now you have Supercross. Micky didn't want it, but he had to take it if he wanted to have a truck series. So he had Supercross and his truck series. And I think it was for San Diego, Anaheim, and LA, I think, and maybe Vegas. I'm not sure. Okay, once again, this is a long time ago. So when they came out, it was multiple people heard Mike Goodwin say, "Thompson, you're a dead man," because they took his Mercedes. He had this bitchin' 500 SEC. He was his pride and joy. At the court, tow truck came, took it, and so then there was that. Then obviously we all know if we see Pay Dirt and we watch some of the other stuff, the documentaries, that Micky and Trudy were killed. and they've accused Mike Goodwin of having it done, not doing it, but having it done. They said they saw him, and there was people, and talking to different people that know cops and stuff. They said the guys that pulled the trigger were probably dead 3 hours after that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the John Wayne Gacy or whatever, or whatever. You kill the person that kills the important person, and it's not important. So then, Micky's sister and Danny was still racing. Micky's son was racing trucks with us, and Colleen, I don't think she really wanted to run the business, and so she got approached by I think it was Feld at the time, or it's Feld
I
now.
think it might have been Clear Channel.
No, anyhow, so
Yeah.
they put it together, which is exactly what NASCAR did with the sanctioning bodies of all the different stuff to make one giant deal. And that way they could control the whole nation. And that's when, honestly, and when TV and social media and everything started coming in. And so that's what really ramped up Supercross.
So, and that's why I tell people why the factories are so reluctant to demand money or profit sharing from the series is because when it came in, they were just happy to have a unified series to go race. But now we're hitting a point, Rick, where this series, if it goes off the numbers that they've released and you go market value, this series is worth probably 200 million per year behind a paywall with Peacock. How do the riders go about getting a piece of that now?
No matter how many people say and do this, they're taking the big risk, so they're making the big reward. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I go back to McDonald's. The employees like, we need more money. Then I got to raise the price of the burgers. Then there's no burger. Then I can't sell a burger, and then the business goes closed. But you know what I mean? It's a catch-22. Now I've talked with Jimmy Johnson. I guess NASCAR now has sanctioning fees. Like I said, I don't want to get too deep into it because I have minimal space, and I use it to teach people how to drive cars and ride bikes and go fast in a truck and I love my wife and dogs and kids. But so what he was saying is that the certain number of teams, there's certain number of sanctionings. Okay, whatever. So I think he has number 48 or 40, 49, 40 something or whatever. So you get a like a revenue share on a year. And once again, I don't understand it completely, but I kind of get it. Now, how does the teams make the money, but then the rider has to negotiate with the team? You see what I mean? And so the team, if you have somebody who's like, I don't give a shit, Chris, you'll ride for free because you're a motorcycle drug addict just like everybody else out here. So you'll drive for free. Okay. So we'll go to the guy. And then if we want the most expensive guy right now, if we want the Jet Lawrence or the Eli Tomac or the Cooper Webb and stuff like that, you have to pay those guys and they make a lot of money. So I know I'm not really giving you an answer, but how you're going to start a sanctioning, like people have talked about riders unions, it never works, man. You get 20 guys. Let's just say the top guys. 20 guys are young, their ego is at the complete highest. They're making more testosterone in their body than they could run a damn city with power. And then the guy who's not making money says, we need more pay money. The guy who wants a technical track because he's the best rider says, we need the tracks more technical. They're too easy. Then the other 10 guys are going, the tracks are too difficult. We're getting hurt. So we tried it. We tried it back in the day. In 1980, I think it was 83. I think it was 83, 82, 83, or 84. I remember we got together at Butch Lee, who was the AMA official at the time, down in San Diego. And I walked in as the young guy, and I just listened. And I listened to the Marty Smiths and Brock Lovers, my peers. And I just said, this isn't gonna work, man. He wants difficult tracks. He wants this. He wants that. You're not going to get those guys to go in that direction. So I don't know how to get more money from somebody that's taking the risk to make the money. You know what I mean? Because they have Monster Truck too, right? And
Yep.
they have, but that's kind of a wrestling show. You know what I mean? They own the trucks. They pay the drivers, and the way it goes. And that's, unfortunately, buddy, welcome to big business. Watch the show, The Men Who Made America. If you get a chance on the History Channel, and talk about if we think Feld is the big bad guy, go look and see what Rockefeller did and what what
Oh, I
Vanderbilt,
know.
Vanderbilt and Carnegie and all these guys. That's just the way business is, unfortunately, because you take the big risk, you want the big reward. So
Rick, that it's the way it was answer drives me absolutely bananas. But
yeah,
here's the thing though. Right now, you take away the racers, there's nothing. And I'm not saying the racers will never get together. They're young, they're dumb, like you said, they don't know, they're just chasing their dream. But
yeah.
the teams, right now, KTM struggling financially. If these brands that are like supported, and like I said, they were happy to showcase them in the day, now they can actually turn this into a revenue stream. And every single professional sport, F1, football, baseball, whenever they introduce profit sharing for teams or athletes, they grow. Why wouldn't that work here?
It could, but it's gonna be because it's gonna be the big teams that make it happen. So you have to, and I think they all have an agreement that they can't talk behind each other's back when it comes to manufacturers. Like I don't think, again, I don't know, but I don't think Honda and Yamaha could talk about how they want to change the sport. Because if they do, then that's a breach of trust, I think, with the whole thing, because there's all these other factors that go into it, like, they're how they came up with the 450 rule, a 250 Supercross versus 125. All the manufacturers get together and go, okay, we all need to build the same bikes so that we all sell them.
Yeah, see,
So
I think what you're talking about is like a rules committee. I'm not talking about rules. The rules, that's a separate argument. I'm just talking about money to support the teams, period. They
well
can talk
that
about money.
that's where the teams would have to get together and go, we're not racing. Or we're going to do something else. We're going to go do the World Supercross. But as you can see, it's not. There's as soon as you open up one door and go, this is a good idea. Like three more doors shut or two more doors open, it gets really funky. So, I I don't know how to make the money, but the things that I do think that need to happen is, once again, leaning on a manufacturer a little bit more. I think if you qualify for a main event and you're not a factory rider, you should get 10 grand because it's a color. If you got an orange bike, you got a yellow bike, if you got a white bike, if you got whatever, you're promoting that. I think that it's time for the series to up the money for, like, once again, get to the main event, 10 grand. 10 grand to, it was like 6 grand or something, I think, when I won a Supercross back in the day. And I don't think it's much, it's a lot more. But I don't know who determines that. Is AMA determine that, or just the promoter? Because AMA is a sanctioning body, and I would go up and I would give AMA my card, and then I would have to go there at the end of the night, get my card, get my envelope of money, and go home.
Yeah, Rick, it's very convoluted. And what the AMA is with what it was, I've done a series of videos, pulled their tax returns. I'm hoping Doge looks into them, to be honest with you, because there's some funky stuff going on at the AMA and the way they're tied in and where they sold a nonprofit to a profit. They've done some funky stuff, but all I want is the promoters to just pay the riders and just pay the teams. And like right now, they still have to pay entry fees. That's ridiculous, Rick. Show
Yeah.
me a football player that has to pay an entry fee every week,
NASCAR still pays entry fees.
but they at least
So,
get money back, right?
I know, but yeah, they give money back. I'm just saying, NASCAR, Baja 1000. I mean, you want to talk about, you spend a lot of money on entry for the Baja 1000 and you make nothing. You know what I
Well,
mean? You're there for the trophy. So I'm just saying that a lot of other racing organizations, because why? Because once again, we're racing drug addicts, and we'll pay for it. And that's the thing in off-road, these guys are all paying money way above and beyond their sponsors. You got the McMillans with Monster/Beast, and you got Bryce Menzies with Red Bull. But I guarantee the money that it takes to do the way they do it is they're not making it from those sponsors.
no.
Not
I'll
even
be honest
close.
with you, Rick. I see the Baja 1000 and I go, what they're spending for what they're doing. I feel like they just have a lot of money to burn, or there's money. I have no idea what it is, and it doesn't pencil out ever. So,
Well, if I won the lotto, I would do it. I would do it on my own ticket. Right now, I'm a professional driver. I drive for Gus Villadosla. But if I had that kind of money, not saying his kind of money, I was just saying if I had the money to go fund myself to go have the helicopters and all the different stuff, dude, so much fun. And that's the thing. Is that high, that feeling you felt when you clear that triple, when you feel that now you have the crowd cheering for you, and it romanticizes it, and so you're going to do everything. And look, The Lawrence families talked about how they financed their house and went to Europe. They're sleeping on pool tables. You know, big Ricky Carmichael couldn't go to the races anymore because he was working while Gene went. You know, the stories go on and on. You know, Villapoto. I remember his mom was here with him in Southern California while his dad was working. And I know that for myself, it was same thing. You know, mom's, you know, everybody struggles to get it. So I wish I had the answer, but there's so much behind the scenes that I don't know.
Yeah. So you talk about that drug, that racing drug that we all have and we want, and the glory. But then when I want to talk about retirement, when guys end their careers, you know, we think, oh, it's off into the sunset. There are beaches and margaritas the rest of their life, and it's just going to be all happily ever after. It's not like that, is it?
It is for a couple guys. I mean, I think the generation after myself, Jeff Stanton has done very well because he lives in Michigan. He doesn't have the taxes and the housing costs and all the different. He was very, very, very smart with his money. Brock was good with his money, but still works today. McGrath, I think, was the first one to really to be able to retire. And he said it in a couple podcasts and stuff that he doesn't have to work. He does stuff because he wants to. He does stuff with Kawasaki. He does stuff with Terex and things like that, and does stuff with Maxxis. But his thing is that he does it to keep active, you know. And then I talked to Dungy when he came back and did the nationals. I'm like, what's up? And he goes, dude, I was going crazy. I'm like, of course you are. You know, you think because you've, and I know this because I started racing at 9 years old, and I was racing every weekend and Wednesday nights, and I was just in a constant pursuit of racing. So when you get to a point, you have an injury, or you have somebody like Ryan that goes, I'm timed out. I'm done. I'm burnt out. You're a young man. I mean, I was forced to retire at 28 years old. So I was just getting really going, and I jumped right into trucks to do what I needed to do. But there is such a dark period that you have no idea. I'm not saying you have no idea, but people
No.
have no idea. And I was fortunate enough to be blessed to have a couple situations, very bad situations, but show me the truth. So I dislocated my hip in '83. Most painful thing I ever went through. The only person to call me in the hospital was Marty Smith. And I love Marty for that. Because he dislocated his hip. He goes, dude, I know how bad this hurts. And this wasn't cell phone. You call me on your cell phone. This was call St. Louis, find the hospital, find the day, and get in touch with me. But dude, I disappeared. Like my phone, I used to have a 90-minute cassette tape, 45 minutes on either side. I had to use that for my calls. Hey man, call me. Good race. Blah 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 blah. Blah. It would like go on forever. I'm like, this thing broken? Is it? Maybe something's happening. And so there was that, and I realized I'm not gonna take this for granted at all. So when I came back and I was able to win after in '84, and then do well in '86, '87, '88. But then when I got hurt with my wrist, I had the same thing. But I was at the top, you know, level, you know, with Wardy and Bailey, and you know, I was at the top rung of guys. And when it goes away and people they don't give a shit about you anymore, you know? And that was a realization that I had a couple times that were really, really dark, really scary. And I'm like, what is this all about? Because you think people love you. They don't love you. They don't give a shit about you. They want to be around you because they want to introduce you as, oh, this is my friend Rick. He's factory Honda champion, blah, 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 and all the shit. There's not just, my best friend, John Alvarez, was the first person to just introduce me in a group. Hey, this is my friend Rick. I'm like, that's awesome. You know, and so they're like, hey, Rick. So the conversation didn't turn towards me and didn't get to where I was like, oh, how much money do you make? How high do you jump? How fast is your bike? Or whatever the bullshit they want to talk about. And so for me, when it all fades, you find out what's important, you know, and you find out who's important and who's behind you and who cares about you and who truly cares about you and who just doesn't want free tickets. Because still to this day, I mean, Anaheim's, I'm like, you realize it was 35 years ago that I raced, right? And you're asking me to get you free tickets from the promoter? 35 years ago, bro. You know, and I went to high school with you. Fucking go buy a ticket.
So there's a lot of guys, and they're racing to an older age, and I think that there's a lot of factors in that. But What would you tell a guy like Tomac or, Webb or Anderson? Because in a few years, they're going to be going through that period where they find out who's their friend, who's not, and they lose their identity to an aspect. What would you tell these guys?
Just hang on tight, buddy. You're gonna realize that something is gonna give you that joy, that Supercross and winning. Because man, I'm telling you, man, it feels so good when you cross that finish line and when the crowd appreciates you and they're just like, rah, and it's addicting, man. Fame and famous stuff is addicting, and everywhere you go, at Backstage Pass, I want to go to a concert. I call somebody, I go in the backstage. I got the VIP lanyard. Everywhere you go, you're VIP. Then it goes, you're not. But this isn't just us. I experience it a lot with the military guys. So the top rung of the guys that I work with are a 5-man element. And when I meet them, they're all alpha males. They're all kick-ass. They're the best killers in the world. And they will die for their friend. All right, they will die for this guy. When they jump off a helicopter, they're all trained to enter a room 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and they run as fast as they can to be number 1. Why? Because that's where most of the action is. And 2, that's the way they are. So if you beat me to the door, I follow in second. I know what my job is, and 3, and so on and so on. The reason I tell you this is that when they retire, they're supposed to go into these other jobs and stuff. But you lose that. Remember when we were little kids and we went to elementary school, you had your clique. You weren't a gang, but I had like Scott Hamilton, Channing Dowd, the Cloud Brothers, and those were my crew. And Steve Johnson was like a little older, so you mess with me, you mess with them, and they could call you fat, stupid, skinny, black, brown. What it didn't matter. You had your core best friends, and as we grow, we don't have those anymore. And so we get the illusion when we're racing motorcycles with the fame and people loving us and people wanting to give us stuff. And everywhere we go, hey, man, let me give you this. Let me endorse my product. Let me give you money for that, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden you think it's because they like you. They like you because you're doing the job. And so when it's done, you just have to be ready for it to go quiet. And it will go quiet. So kind of loop this back around, when I talked to Ryan, he goes, don't get me wrong. I love my wife. I love my kids, but he's a killer. Once again, sweetest human being you'll ever meet. But man, watch him race and watch him just throw it down and put his life on the line lap after lap. When you don't have that anymore, it's hard. It's hard. Okay, you've been trained as a pit bull fighting dog. Okay, that was your last fight. Go be a lap dog. I like biting people. You know what I mean? So that's what I would tell him, is just be ready for the storm, but know that you're going to find joy in other things. It's kind of like when I became a Christian, the guy's like, you're not just going to immediately think that certain things are going to start to fall away. And I thought, man, I don't want to change who I am. And I didn't change who I am. It's just certain things that, whether it was chasing girls or this or that or whatever, getting in fights and stuff. It's like, why am I doing that? I just don't want to do it anymore. So when you retire from moto, you don't have those highs, but then you got to watch the lows. So then your life takes a different rhythm as you move on. So that's the thing. I'm 60 and I'm still racing trucks because, sorry, I got the needle was deep in the vein, and I got to have something that I can identify with.
Yeah, Rick, and it's not just the superstars. I was never very good, and I got to Reencross level, but I still lost my identity when I quit. And it's difficult, but it's something I like to talk about and just let people know, like, hey, it's something we're all going to have to deal with on some level at some point.
Well, and what are you going to do with it? So like me, I enjoy teaching. I truly do. If it's a beginner, if it's a guy that's never ridden on dirt in an adventure bike, if it's a pro, if it's whatever. I left Aaron Plessinger a message because I think he's sitting up too tall with his tall body and stuff like that. And everybody's on the Ryan Hughes, you got to lock your lower back and I think he needs to stay a little lower over the jump. So I'm like, I just want to help, And if you look at guys like who I admire so much as Mark Blackwell, was a GP champion, was a motocross champion, national champion, and then he was Team Suzuki manager. Now he ran Polaris and Indian and all of that stuff. He put his effort into business. So find something that you're passionate about, because your body's not going to let you be a supercross racer your whole life.
That's great advice. That's what I tell people too, is you take the things that you learn from the sport that are good and carry them on to other things and learn how to apply them differently. So Rick, I've kept you about an hour. That's about what I asked you for. So Anything else you want to get off your chest?
Yes, get rid of hole shot devices. Hate those things. Stupid, dumb. Why have them if everybody has them? The bikes are so fast, and with the grates, I like the grate because it makes it consistent coming across. But the guys are just coming too fast, and just because a heat race goes, because you got half of the crew that doesn't want to be there too, but the main event, too many guys are going, they're wide open, they're dropping it. Now they got these devices, which I would have. I mean, if I would use everything I can. But why do we have them if everybody has them and we could slow it down and make that first turn more palatable and not as dangerous? Because we've seen some of them, they're floating the front wheel all the way down, and when they come in, it doesn't travel down. It goes down to unlock it, and then when it unlocks it, what does that do? Makes it come up, makes it react, and does weird stuff. So I am a big advocate. Get rid of hole shot devices. No one needs them. No one needs them, and also be a little more technique.
I don't like the grates either, because I like there's a reason you get first pick. You earn first pick. And if there's one that's chewed up and you don't want it, that's part of it. And I think that's also the separation. Back in your day, if you go back and watch, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It was like the 80s, 90s. You look at that first turn speed, that extra 10 mile an hour, that makes a big difference when you pile it up.
Well, with 450 fuel injected and the tire technology now, they're probably going damn near 30 miles an hour faster. I know it sounds ridiculous, but they're wide open in second. They're wide open in second, and some guys are hitting third gear. So I'm going to cheat as much as I can. That's my job as a racer. Your job as a sanctioning body is to write a rule. My job is to find any gray area there is. I was big on when I would ride, I'd see something at Daytona, I'd come around, I'd slow down one lap and kick a hay bale out of the way. Because if I'm not, so now I got it out of the way, I could go around one of those deep backhoe tractor holes. And so I didn't go outside. The hay bale got knocked out. They can't say, well, you kicked it. I accidentally hit what you could. It's a gray area, right? Same thing. Jeff Ward had these two boxes. So Honda made me a special box. And so I made it really obnoxious, made it out of titanium and all the stuff. I have it. And because I did that just so they would take his boxes away. Because he was shorter, he needed that. So now he has to go find rocks and do this and do that. So I'm trying to take 1% away from him. So we got rid of you can't have starting blocks. And now they have starting blocks. They have all this, guys are just in the position, they just pull the trigger. I think there needs to be a little bit more of that. And as you said, that's where I got that condition over position. We had a Supercross in San Francisco when I was working with Tortelli, and Ron Cotta went to the last chance. He took the last gate on the outside. It was a mud race. He hole shot it by like 10 bike lengths. You know why? Because the ruts were full of water and they couldn't scrape it and all the different stuff. And he just went, so that's where I told Ricky when he was racing with Chad and Bubba, I said, in the main, condition over position. I won't be with you at the gate. I know that right next to the box is the preferred spot. But if everybody's using that in every race is chewed up, move over 2, 3, or 4, because we got to get you to the first turn in the top 5. So, and then also on that, they said you can use hand tools, okay, to prep your spot. Well, my mechanic went and bought a pry bar, looked like a giant screwdriver from Snap-on, okay, to knock the things in. Now they said you can't use hand tools. Then different manufacturers are making boots with a blade on the back so the guy can fill the dirt in and bring more dirt in. You see what I mean? So no matter what rule you make, me as a racer, I'm just going to use me to generalize all racers, is to find a way to cheat to make it advantage for me. And so once again, opinions like assholes, everyone has one. Mine's just perfect. But
you got a resume to back it up, Rick.
Well, anyways, I'm talking about anyway. So, but the point is, I like the grates because it's consistent off the gate. I would like to see some more separation, maybe with the gate a little more split, so that the good gates have a better shot. I want to get people through the first turn, because then think about it: if you get everybody through the first turn in racing, and then you have a yellow at halfway, oh, there we go. The start is not the only way to win this race.
I have thought about a 2-row start because I want qualifying to matter. And I want you to have an advantage for being in the top 10 or 11 guys. Put 11 guys in the front, 11 guys on the back. And then we don't have some guy who's way off, because we get the guys in the back, they're a few seconds off, getting up there and gapping the field right off the bat and giving, Webb or Sexton a giant lead, because Kyle Chisholm was in second. I would rather see a two-row start. What do you think of that?
No, I don't like it because what I like about what we have, and dude, I totally love disagreeing. I don't want to fight, but I hear what you're saying. The reason I don't like that is because Supercross is like the last. Everybody when they line up has a shot at the whole shot. And if it's a Vince Freezy, if it's a Chisholm, if it's who knows if we get whatever some world champion to come over and he gets the whole shot and he has an opportunity. I just want to make the first turn more salvageable because we're going in so fast and it's like checkers or wreckers. It's like good, terrible. So that's my thought there. And the other thing is this whole we always have to turn left for a first turn is bullshit. Like that's not true. That well, then why aren't guys going off the track on right-hand corners? And honestly, if you have a right-hand corner, that's going to make the guy stand up more and he's not going to sit forward. He's not going to be sliding with his foot off the peg. So it's actually going to slow him down a little bit more. So you got to watch out asking me this shit, Chris, because I have opinions for days.
But Rick, you just talked about getting through the first turn. If there's half the field lined up and staggered, then they'll get through the first turn. But you still, I guess you have to sacrifice that.
So now you're Eli Tomac and you spin off the gate and you don't qualify. You don't do well enough in the heat race. You have to start in the back row. Now you don't have a chance to get it. That's my thing. Is that everybody, good or bad, has a shot at the whole shot. Like Ron Cott, came from all the way on the outside and got the whole shot.
But Rick, that's racing. If you don't qualify good, you start in the back, and then we get to see Eli Tomac come from the back. What a great story that would be.
If we had a yellow flag at halfway, it would be perfect.
I don't think people are going to like that idea. I don't know, man. I don't know about that whole.
You watch it one time, and you're going to go, dude, why haven't we done this? Because I was right on board with you. I argue with Jim Baldwin about it because I was working for him at the time. I'm like, you don't know how hard it is for us to get a lead and not have to protect yourself. And he goes, I don't care. I want to see a race. And that's the thing is that if we can see a battle for the last 5 laps, and guess what? It's a 5-way battle. It's not just the 2 dudes out in front. We've just bunched everybody back together.
Well, let me ask you this, Rick. So if I'm racing and I know there's going to be a competition yellow, why would I even try and get a big lead? Did you guys do that?
No. So we didn't try to get a big lead, but we fought for that position because it was 1 point. So there's a scrap to the halfway because the guy who gets it gets that 1 point. And now here's some strategy that goes into it. So hey, Eli's out front. We're just making up names. Eli's out front. Jet's not quite catching him. He's got a lap or 2 to go. He knows it's coming. I take some time. I get some rest because I know we're going to start over and we're going to jump back in the fight again. So the only way people are going to know it's going to work until we do it. But look, and once again, I hate it for Max. But that was exciting, man. I was on the edge of my seat just going, oh my God, what's going to happen? And it was awesome, and once again, it sucked that he did everything right, but it just is.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Rick. Well, I've kept you long enough. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, my man. Was there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I just want to thank the guys from Nano-tech for hooking me up. I will have a full report after I use it for about 2 weeks, and then I'll get off of it, and then I'll get back on it, and that way I can hit Ziggy back up and let him know what I think. And also want to throw a shout out to the guys. I know you're working with them, Motobilia. The dudes are awesome. I love David Dewhurst and Rick Dowdy. They're doing a great job. And you know what? I have to finish with this with you is that I was hesitant to do your show. Just because you've stirred up a lot of shit in this business, and rightfully so. You're calling it as you see it. That's we live in America, freedom of speech, and if you think and I'm like, well, do I really want to go on this? And I'm like, no, you're doing your job. You know what I mean? And you're in a tough spot, but you're doing it. You're increasing your followers, and keep speaking your truth. You know what I mean? Your truth and my truth don't always have to line up. That doesn't mean we have to punch each other in the face either. You know what I mean? It's like I'm going to the Christian church. You're not You're going to a Muslim church or you're going to a Mormon, whatever. Everybody has their thing. We can all get along. But
Let's
what I
see.
love,
You've
no
called me.
one part of the
You've
called you Muslim.
you called me fat Muslim. Jeez, Rick.
Well, I just got to give back for all the shit you said about other people. No, but no, the thing is keep doing what you're doing, man. I want to encourage you, and you're not taking the easy road. That's for sure. You know what I mean? So keep going. I wish you a ton of success, and let's get together and go for an adventure bike ride. You want to check me out? Go to rickyjohnson.com, sign up. We'll do dual sport. We'll get Bob out there.
Oh, Purdy. I love Purdy. Purdy's the best.
He's crying about his knee. Oh, I don't want to get it done now. So
He needs to get it done. It's bad.
I know. That's Bob.
Yeah. But hey, I got to defend myself too. You were kind of concerned about what I said about Roxanne's wife. That was an accident, and I immediately apologized. I would never go after somebody's wife. I'm not even going to repeat what was said, but it was very minor, but it was still rude, and I wouldn't do that.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because that was important to me. When I said could I, and I asked you when we had on our conversation off of this, I said, what the fuck did you say about Roxanne's wife? And you said, and you like, it was in the heat of a moment. It was stupid. I was wrong. I mean, you couldn't have said, and that was honestly, that's what solidified me doing this interview, because the ladies that we have in our lives in this sport have to take a different seat because, if you're a pretty girl, you're normally who everyone attracts when they walk into a room. But when you walk in with the Supercross star, they get attention and you're being judged and this and that and all the different stuff. So I didn't want to bring that up, but I'll be honest with you, that's why I did the show, because when you and I talked about it away from everybody else, you apologized and you were like, I was wrong, I was out of line, and so good on you. That's the thing, is because a lot of people just they take the attitude, if they were wrong, fuck them. You know what I mean? And you didn't take that attitude.
Rick, that's how I learn. I'm not above making mistakes, but I also listen to people and I learn, and that's how I get smarter. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Send some of that my way because I'm trying to get smarter at 60 and it's not working real well.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure people don't read the comments or do. I like to read them because, listen, everyone has an opinion and sometimes they got some good points and I'll take them. Listen, if you can make a good case, I'll always change my opinion.
Yeah. Well, so hopefully we can get a yellow flag about halfway through a race and a red flag, and you're going to go, oh my God, look how great this race was. So it's going to have to happen that way for them to realize how good it was.
I'm not against the idea, but
you are. Listen to your attitude. Like,
I'm more for a 2-row start, Rick.
But here's the thing: you're screwed with this 2-row start because you're not going to be able to catch that guy that's out in front. When you have the level of rider that we have today, and
hold on,
you put Cooper Webb up front, and if someone's in the second row, they're never going to catch him.
You don't think last weekend if Chase Sexton started in 10th, he wouldn't have caught him?
Possible.
He hit the gate, crashed, and still finished like 5 seconds behind him.
Right, but then he's got a 10-second lead and he chokes and Mookie passes him.
I know. I'm just saying one doesn't necessarily affect the other. I think any guy that can start inside the top 10, most tracks, most nights, can get it done.